Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Another bar has been raided in Launceston as part of a major police crackdown on a suspected drug ring. 3 people remain in custody as part of the operation, with police recovering drugs, cash and weapons.
Empire 44 nightclub was the first spot to become a hive of police activity today as officers raided the property as part of a wider investigation, using sniffer dogs, torches and a battering ram to comb through the premises top to bottom, with rooftop air vents even a focus of attention. Police descending on a number of properties including bushland, scouring the scenes of alleged drug hotspots. A 28-year-old Kings Meadows man has now been charged with minor drug offences and will appear in court at a later date. A 38-year-old Newstead man and a 26-year-old Mowbray woman remain in custody and are assisting police with their inquiries. It came less than 24 hours after police raids at 4 properties across Launceston. The investigation has uncovered trafficable quantities of drugs, including ice, heroin, MDMA and cannabis, more than $150,000 in cash and taser weapons. Tasmania Police says it will release further details about the drug investigations next week. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Police have also been kept busy with an armed robbery at Mowbray and an overnight home invasion in Kingston. Separate to those, they're also investigating a serious assault at Rosny, where a man received head injuries.
Police on the scene in Rosny early this morning, investigating reports of a black ute found in bushland along the popular bike track.
There were 2 men with the car. One was a 43-year-old Bellerive man who was found to have some reasonably serious head injuries.
Police say those injuries were consistent with being struck on the back of the head with a tyre lever. The 2 men were known to each other and are believed to have been travelling together prior to the incident. The other occupant of the vehicle, a 43-year-old man from New South Wales.
That man's been taken into custody. Investigations have been continuing throughout the day into exactly what's happened, and that man is currently assisting us with our inquiries.
Meanwhile, Launceston Police are investigating an attempted armed robbery on a Mowbray street yesterday afternoon. A 21-year-old male was approached by 2 other men who demanded cash, but the victim was able to flee without handing anything over.
Police are also investigating an overnight disturbance at Kingston involving a gun. Investigators say 3 people confronted an occupant at the Lucas Street address and made threats before discharging a firearm outside.
No injuries or damage were reported, and police say the people are known to each other. Anyone with information about any of the incidents is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
A Latrobe man has put his own safety on the line, returning to his burning home to save his much-loved pets. Investigations are continuing tonight after crews arrived to find the house fully engulfed in flames and billowing smoke this morning.
Crews battle to save a burning home, but inside, a blaze at this Latrobe property left blackened remains.
We arrived at the premise to find it fully involved. It was heavily smoke-laden. Upon arrival, the occupant was out of the house.
Authorities arriving at the Cotton Street home around 10 this morning, saying strong winds initially hampered firefighting efforts. The homeowner's father left watching on as the clean-up continued well into the day.
Gut-wrenching, yeah. Come down and see your son's house being burnt virtually to the ground. So we just have to pull our socks up and do what we can.
It's quite severe. I'd suggest that their house will be completely knocked out.
The owner bravely facing the blaze, running back inside to save his pets.
First thing he thought of is, the animals, so he ran in and he got the dog, and then he went in and dragged 2 bird cages out.
People are very attached to pets, but I would not recommend that.
Investigations are continuing, but reports suggest the fire was started by an electrical fault. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Staff at Bupa Aged Care were told not to cover sick days at its South Hobart site, despite concerns over residents' well-being. The revelations came after more heartbreaking evidence was heard at today's Aged Care Royal Commission hearings.
When Walter and Berenice Eastman moved into aged care, they had no warning of the pain to come.
She thought it was like staying at the Hilton.
But by 2016, troubling stories were emerging.
She was caring for her husband and a blind resident, which was ridiculous.
Mr Eastman passed away in January last year. Management wanted his widow to move from the room she'd shared with her husband. It became a nasty argument with the family.
We actually were robbed of the whole grieving for dad process because of this room business.
Ms Eastman, an actor who's appeared in shows such as Packed to the Rafters, describes the treatment as callous. Former Bupa staff faced tough questions over the company's past practices.
People who went off sick, staff members who went off sick, would not be replaced as a way of saving costs. That was a clear directive, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
A directive that coincided with 2 internal mock audits, which showed the facility failing in areas of basic care. It's claimed the audits made little impact.
It was clearly not effective in what it was intended to do.
In November 2018, federal authorities imposed sanctions on the South Hobart site. The Commission's Hobart hearings will conclude tomorrow, with Bupa's Managing Director expected to give evidence. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Back home, Tasmania's unemployment rate remains well above the national average, but has decreased slightly to 6.1% in October, down from 6.2%. We're still better off than Queensland and South Australia. A new proposal is being floated to allow low-income earners the ability to opt out of compulsory super contributions. The plan would mean more than 1,000 Tasmanians earning under $50,000 would receive extra pay instead. But unions and the super industry are worried it will have a negative impact on retirement savings.
What people are going to be offered the chance to do if the government proceeds with this idea is take some of their superannuation as wages, which might sound good, but you'll be paying much more tax on that, and then you'll end up with nothing in your super account.
The proposal is one of many currently being considered as part of a federal government review. Jetstar pilots are threatening to strike, putting holiday plans for thousands of Tasmanian families in jeopardy. The Australian Federation of Air Pilots has applied to the Fair Work Commission for a vote on whether to strike. The budget airline is offering pilots who earn more than $300,000 a year a 3% annual wage rise. The union wants more, but the airline says it can't afford it. In a statement, Jetstar says it remains committed to reaching an agreement for a new EBA, but not at any cost. Protesters could spend up to 21 years behind bars under a state government attempt to resurrect laws previously deemed by the High Court as unconstitutional. The tough anti-protest measures have been labelled draconian and undemocratic, but industry groups say it's needed to protect them from economic terrorism.
Police negotiate with a protester sitting in the treetops of the Tarkine.
Do you plan to please now these forests?
It's these actions government is cracking down on, revealing new proposed anti-protest laws threatening the highest penalties in Australia.
They're very tough. The first offence is 18 months and the second is up to 4 years, and again decided by a court of law.
Penalties could climb to up to 21 years imprisonment for intrusion on some public land, businesses or even at sea. It's a move backed by industry who hope it will stop trespassers interfering with their work.
It can be very difficult to make ends meet in these situations, and the last thing we need is others coming in and impeding our ability to undertake our business.
It's the second time the government has pushed anti-protest laws. 2 years ago, a High Court deemed the original plan unconstitutional after it was challenged by activists.
This is intimidatory law which won't work because it's aimed to eviscerate, take the heart out of people, and that never works.
It's draconian, it's undemocratic, there's no justification for it in law.
We support absolutely the right to protest and free speech. Yes, that is true, but it is subject to the right of businesses to operate safely and free from intrusion.
Labor previously voted against the laws. The legislation is expected to be debated in Parliament later this month. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
The spirit of giving is extending across Tasmania as we head towards Christmas. Local students performing carols to help launch Kmart's Wishing Tree Appeal today.
People can bring hope into people's lives and can bring peace into their lives by giving this gift. And at Christmas time, when the young people receive those gifts, the joy on their face is just abundant, and it's a wonderful thing.
All Kmart stores across the state are accepting gifts to be distributed to those in need.
And the Tasmanian Tigers have held on to force an unlikely draw against South Australia in the side's Sheffield Shield clash just moments ago. With the Redbacks looking like they'd storm home for victory, the Tigers' bottom order dug deep.
After putting up a strong resistance with the bat, it was the Tigers' attack's turn to join the fight, with Alex Pycroft and Sam Rainbird claiming 3 early scalps before the Redbacks declared 336 runs in front in the hopes of cleaning up the entire Tigers' order before stumps. But Bo Webster and Alex Doolan had other plans as the openers set about forcing a draw and salvaging some competition points, with Doolan belting his way to another first-class 50. Webster dismissed after 82 balls faced, Caleb Jewell managing just the 8 runs, with Matthew Wade's recent form carrying on as a seemingly impossible victory began to look a lot more likely. Wade falling 12 runs shy of his own half-ton as Doolan went on to record his 2nd consecutive century for the match. His day brought to an end shortly after as Ben McDermott and George Bailey set about picking up the pieces, but when McDermott and Tim Payne were sent packing in quick succession, hopes of a miracle win were all but shattered.
Good evening. A bit of warmth in the air over the east today, with Friendly Beaches recording 24 degrees, Hobart 20, Launceston and Devonport 19, Burnie 17 degrees. Strong westerlies over the state today. Mount Wellington clocked gusts of up to 122 kilometres an hour. St Helens 20 degrees, Grove and Ouse 17, the Islands 16, Smithton and Low Head 15, Lyawini and Strawn 13. Low-level cloud over most of the state today. Mountain waves spotted over the Central Plateau and towards the east coast. Coastal parts of South Australia and Victoria also picked up the low-level cover. Thunderstorms developed over the northern tropics, and over the eastern seaboard it was more smoke than cloud. Tomorrow a pair of cold fronts are positioned over our region. A high forms south of WA. Surface troughs are over the mainland. The wind's strong and westerly, up to 20 to 30 knots, reaching up to 40 knots over the south and northeast later. Swells to 4.5 metres. We have a severe weather warning for southeastern Tasmania for tomorrow morning, a gale warning from Cape Portland to St Helens Point and from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point, a strong wind warning for all remaining coastal waters and the southwest lakes. Friday in Hobart, 16 with a shower or two, a windy day, same for Huonville, 14 the top and 15 for Campania. Launceston, a possible shower and 17 the maximum, 15 for Devonport and Georgetown 16 degrees, a windy day. 14 for Burnie, showers and wind. Strawn, showers as well, 13 the high and 15 for Wynyard. St Helens tomorrow a top of 19 degrees, partly cloudy. Swansea 17, 18 for Port Arthur with a few showers. UV straight 8s and very high. On Saturday, partly cloudy for most of the state. Showers for the west and south. A shower over Bass Strait and western areas on Sunday. Windy and cloudy on Monday with showers over the west. Hot and sunny in Perth tomorrow. A morning shower in Adelaide, showers developing later in Melbourne. Sunny though for Canberra, Sydney and Brisbane. And fine conditions here, 16 degrees in Hobart, 17 right now in Launceston, partly cloudy in Devonport and 14 degrees. Joe, the week after the AFL Grand Final we normally turn our heat pumps off because it's nice and warm. They're still on at the moment. I've got to turn them off this weekend. Surely yours aren't on anymore, are they?
I've got everything going. Electric blanket, heat pump, all of it. It's freezing. All right, thank you very much, Merv.